All right, joining me now is Stephen Cameron of Orlando Magic HQ, the host for the Orlando Magic here at the Alley Oop. Really appreciate you hopping on, Stephen. Tough loss tonight for the Magic. We're recording this on Monday night. This will air on Tuesday morning. Tough loss tonight, Cleveland, but it was the second night of a back-to-back. Do you think it's an excusable loss, or is this one that there's kind of cause for concern for the team?
Man, Ryan, first of all, thanks for having me back. This is always a fun check-in with you to kind of just figure out what's going on with the Magic. Man, tonight's tough, right? So it's like you can go the excuses of 3 games in 4 nights for the Magic, back-to-back, resting a couple guys that are relatively coming back from injury, Jonathan Isaac and Markelle Fultz and stuff like that. Like, you can make up all the excuses, but ultimately when you're down by 30 in the second half, you just weren't prepared. You didn't bring it, and you're not making the right adjustments, right? Paolo made a comment in his post game interview today where it was like, we got to we got to watch the players and not just read the names on the jerseys, and that just tells you right then and there, they not prepared for someone like Sam Merrill going off and stuff like that. It's just. Or they didn't take it seriously enough after, having, I'll say, an accomplished win the night before when we played the Miami Heat and the starters basically rested half of the fourth quarter. They didn't have to finish the game. It was a blowout. And so I think they came in and just didn't give it their best foot. And again, there is some reality to you're missing 2 key players in Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac, Jonathan Isaac's like a difference maker offensively. I know he's only playing 13, 14 minutes a night right now when he's playing, but those 13, 14 minutes are massive for this team. They swing energy. Markelle Fultz is really starting to find his groove again, and he's someone that, when you look at Wendell Carter Jr., when he plays well, it's typically when he's playing next to Markelle Fultz, and when he's not playing well, typically he's out of the lineup. And so little things like that, but ultimately, this is game 45 or 46 for the Magic in the season. We're above 500. We're sitting pretty comfortably in 8th spot. We're 2 games away from the 6th seed. Let me double check that. We're at 23. Yeah, Indiana and Miami are both at 24 wins. So right. I'm not really stressing it too much, but it's not a great night for Magic fans, to say the least.
It's understandable, though. And going through this with every team, you understand the ebbs and flows of the season for every team. Right. And Orlando started off really hot. They started off really well. And then, as we were talking about a little bit before, you head on a West Coast road trip for a team that's in Orlando on the opposite side of the nation. And it's a tough road trip, and then kind of start to really spiral a little bit when you get some injuries and things like that. And now the team, like you mentioned, they're 2 games above 500 after starting a little bit better than that. The offense has dropped down, now 24th in offensive rating on cleaning the glass. I'm a little bit worried about that, not going to lie, just as seeing how Orlando has sort of been operating over the course of the past few years with the offense, seeing that number dip back into that area, it's not good. Now, 4th in defense is great, but I'd be a little bit worried about the offense. Something has to change, I think.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And you're not going to have good offense when you have anywhere from 5 to 6 rotation players on the injury report for a good couple of weeks.
Doesn't hurt.
That definitely does not help the offense there. Yeah. We were missing Franz Wagner for about almost 3 weeks. We missed Joe Ingles for about 3 weeks. He's really key to the second unit offense. Just as a hub, as a cog to kind of make it all work together. Sure. Not that he's not that I don't want listeners to think Joe Ingles is blowing up the box score, scoring 10, 12 points a game. He's not. But the way he just operates that unit of passing the ball, kind of getting guys to settle down. He's just really key to the success of that unit, which the beginning of the season when we were healthy was one of the most potent offensive second units in the league. So just something to note there.
Part of the identity, right?
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
Part of the identity of the team where the offense wasn't great. It wasn't perfect with the starters, but when the bench came in, Cole Anthony, Joe Ingles, Moritz Wagner, that's a massive value add for a team where you get that extra energy.
And then, part of that unit was, again, we're going back to like Jonathan Isaac missed 10 games during that run. You had just Cole kept missing some games or would play a half and then out the second half because he had like I think it was a hamstring or calf that kept tightening up on him, and they've been managing that. And then we had this sickness come through. So it's like I feel like I'm making a lot of excuses, but like that's kind of what the Magic have been dealing with for the last month. It's just injury, sickness, and like I'm saying all guys that are major rotation guys. These are like we played Chuma Okeke and Caleb Houston and Trevlin Queen like every game for like 2 to 3 weeks, and like Trevlin Queen's a two-way player. Chuma Okeke and Caleb Houston are third stringers for the Magic, right? And so it's like you're not going to be successful that way. So we got some good wins. We got a win on your Nuggets. We've had a few wins here and there, but yeah, we started off, I think it was like 16-6 and then have since gone like 6-11 or something like that. It's been 6-12. It's been pretty bad. So don't quote me on those exact numbers, but it's been around that ratio.
No, it's understandable. And we've seen some progress made from a bunch of key guys. Paolo has been very, very impressive. He has been, I think, the all-star of the team as Franz is kind of like with the injury that he sustained. And Franz's numbers were a little bit lesser in general than where Paolo was at. But Paolo is clearly that dude. He is somebody that I'm very impressed with. And there are certain growing pains that he's going to have to go through. And I'm sure that part of that run is part of those growing pains. But it is going to be interesting to see where he goes from here. But I do think that, look, Jalen Suggs looked pretty good at times. Anthony Black looked pretty good at times. Wendell Carter, that's the one that I'm a little bit skeptical of because he has played a little bit better. And to your point that Markelle Fultz, like when he's out there, it makes it look a little bit better. But we've seen this kind of center platoon between him, Goga Bitadze, and Mo Wagner. Goga didn't play earlier tonight, didn't he? Like it's kind of interesting given that he started as many games as he did.
Yeah, so the relationship with Goga and the current rotation is like he is the third string center on this bench, on this thing, on this team, right? And so when your starter, Wendell Carter, goes out, instead of breaking up the second unit and bringing Mo up, they brought Goga up. Goga played pretty darn well in that starting role, right? Now, he's not necessarily a starting center in this league, but he played very well as a spot starter during that injury segment. But it's like, when you look at Wendell Carter, he is a good center on a really good contract. And for most part can play pretty well in that role. But when it comes to going up these bigger physical centers like a Jarrett Allen tonight versus the Cavaliers or, versus obviously like no one's stopping Embiid, particularly like on a night like tonight where he puts up 70, but like pretty these good. Bigger, pretty more good. Physical players, like that's where you start to see Wendell really kind of like get bodied a little bit more in the paint. His size starts to mess with him. He's like, in my opinion, he's almost better as like a 4, where you can like play him next to like a Jonathan Isaac, or just another big wing that can play some defense and kind of like get in the mix there with the paint. But long term, I'm not the biggest guy on Wendell Carter Jr., but I do think it's like I'm not going to trade him for a bag of chips just to like shake it up and get him off the team. Like if we're trading Wendell Carter, it's got to be for a significant upgrade elsewhere on the roster or even at the center position, right? That's kind of how I'm viewing it. It's not like we're not going to go trade Wendell Carter for Buddy Hield type of deal, right? No. Expiring. We need shooting. We don't need that kind of shooting. But like, would I include Wendell on a trade that really shored up the point guard position for a foreseeable future? Like, hypothetically speaking, this is not going to happen, but like, the big name on the market right now is DeJounte Murray, right? Would I include Wendell Carter in a DeJounte Murray trade? Probably, yeah, I would, because that's a pretty good upgrade to our center position. Now, granted, that trade's not going to happen, but that's just my example, right?
I don't know. It's not that far off. It doesn't take that much to get to the DeJounte Murray number, and like for an Orlando team where It is a fascinating team building question, right? Of what a Paolo team needs, what a Franz team needs. What does the center position look like next to those guys? Do you need one major center? Can you get a couple of different guys who are different options? I think it's very fair, and I think it's an interesting question given what we've seen from Jalen Suggs, from Anthony Black, from Cole Anthony, from all these guys. There's been a lot of progress made, to be clear, this season, but you also then step back and are like, man, DeJounte Murray would be fun. A guy like a Donovan Mitchell type would be fun. Like there's some interesting names that you could throw at in the backcourt. And I'm curious, what do you envision for the team long term around Paolo and Franz if you had your druthers?
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, first and foremost, I just want some healthy players that can play most games, right? That's what we deal with a lot is like, it's not like the players on our team are bad. They just don't ever play, Wendell Carter's missed 20 something games. Markelle Fultz missed 20 something games. Jonathan Isaac, I think he's missed like 19 games so far this season. So it's just like we're missing players often. And that's not fun. So sure. I would like healthy players around them. That would be great. I would like guys that can space the floor a little bit and are willing shooters. So it's like you don't necessarily have to be a light out shooter at the point guard position, but would you at least take 4 or 5 a game and hit 36% of those, right? Like that would be pretty nice. Yeah, not a high bar compared to, no disrespect because he's really good at other things, but like Markelle Fultz, even when he's healthy, it's not even taking 3-pointers, right? He's more of like putting pressure at the rim type of point guard, and that's good. You need that too. But I don't personally want that for this team long term. We drafted Anthony Black. He's been a willing shooter at low volume so far from 3, but he's a rookie, not exactly known to be a 3-point shooter, but shown some success there. It's shooting already 35% this season. I'd kind of like to get maybe like a stopgap point guard for like a couple years as he continues to develop and see if that would work, because I just don't think the point guards that we're seeing available right now are the long-term fit. And I'm talking about Tyus Jones, Malcolm Brogdon, D'Angelo Russell, and I mean, I personally do like the idea of giving it a shot with Dejounte Murray, but I don't think that's actually going to happen. It just doesn't seem like a trade that makes sense for this front office. So, and those other guys just feel like stopgap point guards for like another season or two. But yeah, man, like back to the roster building question, like Markelle Fultz is like a traditional point guard that can really set up the offense. I would take a little bit less of that because we have other ball handlers and decision makers in those lineups with Paolo and Franz who are capable. Suggs is growing. He's not necessarily a primary ball handler, but he's growing there a bit.
He can do some stuff.
Yeah. And like I would love to go chase a Malcolm Brogdon who's a good ball handler. Maybe not as great as Fultz is in that that area, but can shoot the ball, can play on and off a bit. Sure, he's got some injuries with him, but he's been playing pretty darn healthy the last 2 years, which is nice. And it's just kind of like a short-term fix. You readdress the situation in 2 years. That would be fun. I'm not psyched on Tyus Jones. He's a little too small for my liking. I think he'll just get picked on in the playoffs, and I'd prefer to have a guy with a little bit more size. So I don't know. That's kind of an area I'd like to really address with this team going forward, and then obviously just get some more consistency of shooting in the second unit. Right, we have some young shooters with Caleb Houston and Jet Howard. Maybe they can turn into something really, really nice for us in the long term. But I think we obviously need to find some more two-way players that can shoot the ball in that aspect to support these guys.
Yeah, it's always interesting when a team gets to this position where you can see the consolidation trade forming. You can see where, okay, this is the elements that are going to need to go into this. This is the type of player that you need. And then if that player doesn't ever present themselves, what does it look like now? What is it going to be? Do you settle for a lesser version of what you're talking about? And maybe DeJounte Murray's not the right guy. Maybe it's somebody else that you're waiting for, somebody who is even a little bit better than that. So I'm curious how it's going to go. And I think that there's a lot of different ways that Orlando can go. This is kind of and before you go 5-10 in the last 15 or so, this was kind of the honeymoon phase, right? Where the team is good, the team is fun, the team is capable, and as long as you get healthy, then maybe this is a question that you can push off for a while yet. But at this point, like the Sacramento Kings are kind of going through this now, where last year was their fun year. This should be the fun year for Orlando. So I'm really hoping that they kind of get back to that fun place. And maybe it just starts with getting healthy again. Do you have a timetable for Franz, or did he play tonight?
Franz played the last 2 nights, so he's
Okay.
back.
Okay.
He came back yesterday on the 21st for first the Heat, and played pretty well. Came back tonight. I didn't get to watch tonight super closely, so I can't really speak on how he looked tonight. But he's definitely an impact player. We need him. But we also need the other guys that I mentioned too. You need your starting point guard back with Markelle Fultz, and you need your second unit back too with guys like Jonathan Isaac, and shoot, we haven't even mentioned Gary Harris has been out for like almost a month now. So
Yeah.
That's
Love me some Gary Harris.
yeah. He's not like lighting the world up on fire, but like good defender, good decision maker, good shooter, right? Like
Those help.
Low volume shooting, but it's like 38, 39% on 4 or 5 attempts a game. Like that's helpful. So and it's this team is still fun. This season's still a success. We are a playoff team at the moment. I expect the Magic to stay a playoff team. We got Paolo Banchero, who's going to be an all-star and like named an all-star reserve, most likely. I can't say for sure, but like he's already on posters in the airport in Indiana. So it's like
Fine.
Yeah, from the NBA. So there's a pretty good sign that they're going to vote the Rookie of the Year in, and get him in as a all-star reserve or something like that. So that'll be pretty exciting. Whether this team makes the playoffs or the play-in, it's a step in the right direction, right? We are heading towards a 500 season for the Magic, which going from, what did we have last year? 32, 33 wins to getting around 43, 42 wins, 45. So 30, 41, somewhere around there. Like, it's a great step in the right direction. These are hard moments, but good moments for Paolo and Franz to learn from, with the abnormality of being a higher usage decision maker. Paulo's playing at like 29% usage right now, which is like that's like 12th in the league of usage rates. So it's like he's getting a lot of experience right now that he's going to be able to utilize in years to come. And like, we got to remember, like, Paolo is 21, Franz is 22. Not many people are contenders at this age. We got time. We got time to let this cook, right? We got about a year and a half until we can like run out of cap space for a big roster change, because then Franz's likely max or close to extension will kick in. Jalen Suggs is playing into a bigger contract at this point too. And so it's like, we kind of got to make a move in the next year and a half to kind of like shore up some spots, and then it's going to get a little bit harder. But it's going to be a good season. I'm still having a lot of fun. The last few weeks have been a little bit more of a up and down roller coaster instead of just like cranking high like we had at the start. But so far, so good.
Wouldn't surprise me if Orlando gets aggressive next year before even like you have to worry about Franz and Jalen Suggs' extensions kicking in, because they may want to sign those guys in this next offseason. And once you sign those extensions, then that commits that number to a higher place as opposed to the bird rights number. So interesting little wrinkle that maybe we can revisit in the future. So should be very interesting. But hey, I'm looking forward to it. We'll check in with this in about 6 weeks or so. He is Stephen Cameron of Orlando Magic HQ. Really, really appreciate it, man. Let's chat again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Ryan. Go Magic. Peace.